Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. So before we get into things today, I just want to apologize for my voice. It is disgusting. My allergies have been super bad, and my best friend from college was in town over the weekend. We went to a baseball game and I screamed until I lost my voice. So a couple things going on there. Try your best to ignore it if you can. So today I thought it would be fun to do a little thought experiment, a little bit of a torture thought experiment, but all the same, I think it sounds like fun. I am going to be talking about if I had to pick one eyeshadow palette from each brand in my collection that I have several eyeshadow palettes from. So my rule was that I have to have at least three from that brand. If I only have two, it's not that hard to pick my favorite. So I have to have at least three from that brand, and then I have to pick, if I had to get rid of all but one, which one would it be? So as a lover of eyeshadow, this is a scary premise to me. But, I don't plan on getting rid of any of these eyeshadow palettes. I like all of my eyeshadow palettes, but if I had no choice but to pick one from each brand, these are the ones I would pick. So without any further ado, let's get into these amazing top tier, top shelf eyeshadow palettes. Let's start with one of my favorite brands. Let's start with Natasha Denona. This is a very hard choice for me. And what I ended up picking kind of surprised me as well. Not long ago, I would have probably told you the Mini Nude because it's just such a workhorse palette and I love traveling with it, but mine's broken, so I can't travel with it right now. But since I got the Retro palette, it has made itself just such a standout in my collection. So I think, actually, I would go with the Retro palette. I'm trying not to blind you there. It's a little bit different from what I usually go for. I have the bronze palette and, like I said, the Mini Nude palette, and they're very warm tone neutral. This is a very rosy pink color story, but I don't know, it's just something I don't have a lot of. I love how many different formulas there are to play with in here. There are some cream to powder formulas, her more traditional powder mattes, some metallic shimmers, some glittery toppery shimmers. Like, she really put all of her different formulas in here. And it's just such a versatile palette, which is, I think, the thing that set it over the edge of the Mini Nude palette. So I'll do a couple swatches for you just because that sounds fun. Let me do a few different formulas, actually. So I'll start with one of the cream to powder mattes so you can kind of see how they work. I'll do the shade right here. This is the shade Go Go. I use it all of the time in my looks. So you can see it's got a really creamy texture, gorgeous shades, super smooth finish. Love those. Powder, I will grab a sort of similar shade, this shade here, Amara. I love this one as well. I literally just for a second was like, is that also cream to powder? Because her powder mattes are just so creamy. When I'm doing a finger swatch with a powder matte, it's a little bit patchier, but still absolutely gorgeous. This metallic shimmer I absolutely love is the shade Jude. So beautiful. Look, so pretty. I'm like staining my fingers. Wow. And then my favorite of these toppery shades is this one in the center here called Psychedelic. It's just this really pale pink, but it has these like blue and purple glitters in it. It's gorgeous. So got a lot of variety in this palette, and I mean, they go much deeper than these two shades, both in both the cream and powder formula. So like I said, wildly versatile, everyday looks, super glam looks. Like the more I think about it, the happier I am with this decision. If I could only keep one of my Natasha Denona palettes, it would be the Retro palette, no question. Next, let's do LA Girl. So I only have three palettes from LA Girl. I have one larger 16 pan palette that I don't think they sell anymore, and I have two of the little 9 pan Keep It Playful, I think, palettes is what they're called. I picked my larger one. This is the LA Girl Pro Artistry Palette. It's broken, so I'm just going to take the lid off. I like this one better than the two 9 pan ones for a couple of reasons. Number one, the formulas are exactly the same, so the formula is not really the thing that sets them apart for me. So it is really all in the color story. I feel like I just have more options with this one. It has some more fun colors, and these mattes are more true neutral, whereas in the smaller palettes, they tend to pull pretty warm. That's literally the only thing that leads me to this. I mean, it has an almost identical silver to one of the smaller palettes. I just prefer the tones of these mattes, and I like the fact that I can get some green and blue and fun colors thrown in there. And it never hurts to have a matte black. So let me show you a couple of my favorite shades from this palette. Obviously, I have to swatch this silver. I'm going to swatch this transition brown because it is, oh my gosh, it's just the creamiest matte. And then I'm going to get this green here because I love this one as well. Look at that chunky texture. I know some people don't like chunky shimmers. I do. Look at that. These mattes are incredibly creamy and smooth, no patchiness with a finger swatch. And then this green is just such a nice color. The shine is so pretty. It has so much dimensionality. If you didn't get your hands on this one, I'm sorry. They come out with these 16-pan palettes fairly regularly, so I do recommend getting your hands on one if you see a color story you like. And if you don't, I also do recommend the 9-pan palettes because, again, the formula is exactly the same. Just a preference of color story for me. Next, let's talk about Alter Ego. Alter Ego is a brand that does like dupe palettes. Mostly they dupe Natasha Denona palettes. They've kind of dipped their toe into Pat McGrath and now Anastasia Beverly Hills, I think. So I only have dupes of the Natasha Denona palettes. I have their gold palette dupe, their glam palette dupe, and their Metropolis dupe. So naturally, my favorite of the three is the gold palette dupe, which is the Goddess palette. I am obsessed with this. I love this so much. I wish I had gotten my hands on the original gold palette, but unfortunately I can't do that anymore because it's discontinued. So I have this and I'm very, very happy with it. Absolutely beautiful palette. Obviously the formula is not like as groundbreaking and amazing as Natasha Denona, but it definitely does the job and I get the same looks that I would have gotten from the gold palette. So let me show you a couple of shades that I love in here. Obviously I have to swatch my favorite shade, Cassandra. It's the lime chrome dupe. It's this gorgeous yellow tone gold with these green, and there's even some like pink shimmers in there. It's wild. It's just wild. Let me see. I will swatch this shade up here, Artemis, because I know the blues are always fun. And actually, while we're on the subject, I'm just gonna go all out and swatch the teal matte, the shade Gaia, because I feel like showing off how a blue matte works says a lot more than a neutral matte. Look at that. Look at all that dimensionality. So, I mean, it's not life-changing pigmentation, but that's a solid teal matte. Like, it's not patchy. I love my Goddess palette. She is the one that I would keep if I could only keep one. Dose of Colors is another one that I have several from. I have a few of their 5-pan all matte palettes, but the one that I would keep if I could only keep one is the Friendcation palette Desi and Katie did. Oh my God, this is such a good palette. I love this. It's just such a staple, and these shimmer shades are insane. Like these formulas, I'm so sad that this isn't available anymore. It was such a moment in time, wasn't it? This was such an iconic moment for Dose of Colors. So obviously, if I could only keep one, this is the one that I would keep, no question. So I'm gonna swatch a couple of these incredible shimmer shades for you, obviously, because they are the star of the show in this palette. So I will get this toppery shade, which I use all of the time. And then I'll do this greeny gold and then this really gorgeous dimensional shifty blue purple shade. The mattes are very pretty, but I mean, we're all in it for the shimmers, right? So that is that toppery shade. It's the shade Churro. I just love it. It has some pink sparkles in there too. So pretty. And then that greeny gold shade is called Basic. Oh my God, it even looks like it has like orange reflex in it. So pretty. And then the bluey purple shade, which is literally like almost a multi-chrome with the black base and the shifting colors. I lied to you, by the way. The greeny gold shade is called Cheens, and this is called Basic. I don't know how to read. Look how pretty that is. So yeah, just incredible formulas. So, so beautiful. And obviously you can't get it anymore. So all the more reason that if I could only keep one, it would absolutely be this one. Also the packaging, hello. It's such a winner. BH Cosmetics, I feel like, is a brand that has really slept on eyeshadows. Their 16-pan eyeshadow palettes are like game changers. So I have several of those, but if I could only keep one, it would be Avocado Toast from the Brunch Collection. I have all three of the palettes from the Brunch Collection, so the Blueberry Muffin, the Avocado Toast, and the Mimosa palette, but this one is my favorite. I'm sorry I'm blinding you. That is so shiny. I'm a sucker for a good green color story, what can I say? But you can also do really, really gorgeous, like simple neutral looks with this palette. I just think it's so versatile. The quality of these greens is wild for the price. I mean, this full price is like $18 and you can get BH Cosmetics on sale all the time. Let me swatch out a couple of these for you. This shade Haas is just this gorgeous mossy green shimmer. I am going to do this shade Ripe because it's kind of just this mid-tone true green. And then to do something a little different, I'm going to do this shade, which is just so sparkly and toppery and shiny, and it's called Avocado. So that is Haas. Oh my God. Like, what? This is Ripe. I mean, look at that. It's just so pigmented and pretty. And then Avocado is so like sparkly and oh my God, you could literally use that as a highlighter. I think I will actually. I think I am going to use that as a highlighter sometime. I love the other brunch palettes too. I also have two from the travel series, which are also incredible. And you can find these at TJ Maxx lately for like $6 or $7. So if you find a BH 16 pan palette with a color story you enjoy, pick one up for sure. But again, if I could only have one of them, and that is very hard because they all have such beautiful color stories, but these greens, man, these greens are so good. Let me talk about Kaleidos real quick. Kaleidos is such an incredible indie brand. They make such beautiful shadows and their color stories are so unique and innovative. I have a good few palettes. I have like 5 of their palettes. I have 4 of their little Futurism palettes, that is the little 6 pans. And then I have the one that I would keep if I could only have one. As much as I love my Futurism palettes, purely off of sentimental value, I would keep the Club Nebula palette because it's a collab with Angelica Nyqvist, who I am obsessed with. And it has these absolutely unreal multi-chrome shades and just such an interesting color story. And the packaging is unbelievable. And I just, yeah, if it had to be one, it'd be this one. It's one of those things that gets you out of your comfort zone too, because normally I'm not wearing like dark jewel-toned mattes and, you know, these vibrant multi-chrome pastel kind of colors. I don't normally do that kind of thing. But when I do it with this, I just feel like it looks so, so beautiful. So let me swatch out some of these shades for you. I am going to do this multi-chrome up here because I love it. It's called Firefly. I will do this shade in the middle called Astro because it's also just unreal. And then just to give you a taste of what the mattes look like, I will do this red up here called Red Giant. They're so creamy, so pigmented. It's wild. So this is Firefly. Just wildly gorgeous. You can't even really see all the shifts. It has like a shift to a really strong pink that's kind of hard to pick up. And then this is Astro, which has less shiftiness to it, but is so high impact and shiny. Gorgeous. It does have a shift to a purple though, that's a lot stronger in person as well. And then Red Giant is one of my favorite mattes in the palette because it is just rich. That's such a bad swatch, but you can really like see that the pigment packs a punch. I love this palette. It makes me super inspired to like try new things because there isn't like a safe shade in this palette. You know, like all of them are kind of outside the comfort zone of like a neutral girly, and it's Angelica's palette. So like obviously if I had to only keep one, I would keep Angelica's palette. So Club Nebula for sure. I feel like I keep picking stuff you can't get anymore. I'm sorry. Oh God, speaking of things you can't get anymore, let's rip off this Band-Aid real quick. Anastasia Beverly Hills. If you've seen my other videos, you can probably say this one with me. The Jackie Aina palette is their best palette, hands down. I would get rid of my Modern Renaissance. I would get rid of my Soft Glam palette, and I wouldn't even be sad about it. Like, I might be a little sad, but I mean, when you get to have this, I love this palette so much. I feel so creative, but also like I can stay within my comfort zone if I really want to, but I love doing like a pink crease with this brown-green duochrome, which is my favorite shade in the palette. It's called Sponsored, and I love it so much. It's so much fun to create different things. Look how shiny that is. What? This is Anastasia's best formula, hands down. Like, hands down. I've tried a bunch of their palettes. Well, I haven't tried their new palettes, so don't hold me to that. But from the older, these format of palettes, best formula, hands down. I'm also going to show you this shade Zam just because it's so sparkly and pretty. And then this shade Pinker because I think it's just such a unique shade of pink and I love using it. So this is Zam, so glittery and sparkly. And I love how versatile this is in terms of skin tones. Everybody can use this palette. Everybody can use this palette from super fair to super deep. Everybody can use this. So this is Pinker, which is, I just think it's such an interesting shade of pink. Not my best swatch, sorry. But It's just such an interesting shade of pink that I don't really see a lot, and it makes such gorgeous looks. This palette is so good. Again, I'm gonna stop friggin' waxing poetic about stuff you can't get anymore. I'm sorry. It's so beautiful though, so if I could only have one ABH palette, yeah, I have some sentimental attachment to the other ones, of course, because, I mean, they're OGs, but, like, this is the only one I ever really need. I think this is the last one you can't get anymore, so I'm going to make this quick. Too Faced. I didn't actually realize that I still had more than 3 Too Faced palettes. I think I have 4, and they're all really old. Like, I haven't bought a Too Faced palette in eons. But if I was only going to keep one, it would be the Just Peachy Mattes palette. It's a freaking great palette. I used this not that long ago to make a look, and the quality has held up so well over the years. These mattes are impeccable, and still smells like peaches. I'm not usually an all matte palette girl. I love a good shimmer, but I mean, this just complements so many other things so well. And yeah, if I just need a really reliable companion palette for some of my fun, sparkly, shimmery shades, this makes a great one. I'm not really going to bore you with swatches on this one for a couple of reasons. Number one, they're all mattes. It's not that exciting. And number two, they don't swatch well. They really don't. But just take my word for it, okay? They blend beautifully on the eyes, and I don't know why I'm telling you to take my word for it, because you can't even get it anymore. So, sorry. But I love this thing, and if I could only have one of my Too Faced palettes, it would absolutely be this one. So let's talk about e.l.f. I have a good few e.l.f. palettes. I have some larger ones and some of the small ones. Obviously, if you've been around here before, you know how obsessed I am with the bite-sized palettes. So not a surprise that it's going to be one of those. And the one that I use the most, hands down, is Cream and Sugar. I love this thing. I take it traveling all of the time. I'm actually trying to pan some of the shades in here because they're just so useful. Like, I can use this to blend out the edges of literally anything. This deepens up most looks so well. And these two shimmers are like wildly shiny. Amazing lid shade, amazing inner corner shade. Like, it's just... this is such a workhorse of a palette. The formulas are spectacular. And again, it's $3. So, like, you know, it's just the quality for the price and everything about it. I love it. And you can still get this for $3. So, yes. If you can only have one e.l.f. palette, make it this one for real. This is the best one. This is the best thing they've ever done. And I stand by that. Let's talk about Juvias Place. I haven't bought anything from Juvias Place in a while, but I used to collect their eyeshadow palettes like crazy. And this was kind of a hard decision. I've decluttered a few of my Juvias Place palettes, but I still have a pretty good number, I think 5 or 6. And this one took me a while because it's hard because they make such unique and interesting color stories. But I think their most unique and interesting color story that I currently have in my collection is the Saharan 2. I love this. The star of this palette are these 6 shimmers. Oh my goodness, the dimensionality, they're so beautiful. I love these. I'm just gonna do like my 3 favorites, which is very hard for me, but the shade Marrakesh, you can't really see very well on camera, but it's this peachy, golden, kind of duochrome shade, absolutely stunning. The shade Nomad has just the richest cranberry, but like to coppery kind of, oh, it's so beautiful. And then of course, I love like a light mint green. So stunning. These are definitely not like your sparkly shimmer shades. They are very smooth, creamy metallics, and they're just wonderful. I won't go on a tangent here, but the point is this is just an absolutely stunning, stunning palette, and I would keep this one around if I had to get rid of all the rest, purely because I think it would give me the greatest variety of looks and the most fun in the shimmers. That's why this one. All right, we're getting through them. Let's do Sigma next. I have 3 Sigma palettes. Their eyeshadow formula is really top-notch. I really recommend it. I have Corderosa, Enchanted, and Untamed, and if I could only keep one, I would keep Corderosa. I'm such a sucker for the warm tone neutrals. I really thought I was going to say Enchanted, but then I realized I only wanted to say that because of the one, like, shifty shade. And being realistic, I would just use this so much more. I love this one. It's a warm tone neutral palette with a twist. This, I feel like, is the modern Renaissance. You know, like we were also excited about the pink and orange tones in the modern Renaissance. This is that, but then amped up again. They took it to another level. So absolutely stunning, stunning shades in here. You can go a very, very pink route. You can go a very orange route. There's so much you can do here. Let me just show you a few of my favorites. This shade, Belle of the Ball, is another one of those just remarkable, sparkly topper shades. I love this gold. What is it called? Sun Sprite. And then I'm going to show you this pink matte called Damask. So Belle of the Ball, look at that. just beautiful. This is Sunsprite, really true liquid gold, and then damask. Super blendable, bright, bright pink. So yeah, just a wonderful palette. I love it. I love all of my Sigma palettes, but this one is by far my favorite. I use this one the most without question. So this was not hard for me. As much as I love those other two, and I'd be very sad without them, I can't not have this one in my collection. All right, down to our final few. Nabla. I love Nabla. I have like 9 Nabla palettes, okay? I really, really love Nabla. And I thought I was going to pick a cutie palette for this because it's my favorite of their formats, the little 6-pan palettes. I love them. I take them traveling all the time. They make such easy, convenient looks. But then as I was looking at my Nabla collection, I realized that at my core, I am a basic bitch and I love neutrals. So the side-by-side nude is the one I would keep. This makes every neutral look. You can do very warm toned with the gold and these rose gold kind of shades. You can go very cool tone with the gray, black, and silvery kind of shade. You have these taupey shades. You have these warm peachy kind of transition. It does every single neutral look, and it does it well. The shimmers are so high impact and stunning. The mattes blend like butter. These are top-notch eyeshadows. I love this palette. I take this so many places with me when I don't know what kind of look I want to do when I get there, but I want to have all of the neutral options. This will do it for me. So let me show you the shades that just make my heart happy. I love this Ray of Light shade, very thin, beautiful, metallic formula. Better Society is my favorite shade in the palette. It has like blue sparkles running through it, and it's so shiny and high impact. And then just to get a matte in there, I will do Beauty Mark because I feel like it's kind of a staple matte brown in this palette. Just kind of a neutrally tone that I can use with most things. So this is Ray of Light. Look how shiny. I would absolutely use that as a highlighter too. Better Society, which is my most favorite. Look at that shine. Oh my God. You can't even really see the blue sparkles that run through it, but I can. And it's wild. And then the matte formula is super buttery, like no effort required to swatch it out. Ugh, I love Nabla's formulas. I love their palettes. And it makes me sad that like I didn't pick one of the cutie palettes because I feel like they have more variety of formula. If I could get this color story, but with a couple of their like creamy mattes thrown in there and like a couple of topper glitters, I would be a happy, happy camper. But if I could only keep one palette, I would have to have this color story because it's just such a workhorse palette in my collection. So as sad as it would make me to see my cutie palettes go, this would give me everything I needed. Last couple things. Let's do something very bougie. Let's talk Pat McGrath. I have 6 Pat McGrath palettes. I have 4 motherships and 2 of the larger holiday palettes. Obviously, I love the motherships way more. The holiday palettes are very good, but again, still pricey, and it's not quite up to par with the mothership formula. And if I could only keep one of my Mothership palettes, it would be the first one I ever got, which is the Mothership 5 Bronze Seduction palette. This, again, was not even remotely a difficult choice for me. I picked this one first because I absolutely fell in love with the color story, and I am still in love with the color story. This one's just so directly up my alley. This is exactly what I wanted when I went looking for like a really luxury, bougie eyeshadow palette, and always, if I'm reaching for a Pat McGrath palette, my brain wants to go for this one first. So let me show you my favorite shades. This one, obviously, that's the shade VR Fire Opal, and I'm obsessed with it. I also love this rose pink special shade right here. That's the shade Rose Gold 005. And then let's just keep it going with the special shades. You know, that's what it's all about with Pat McGrath, right? We'll do the Astral shade, which is Astral Luna Gold. So VR Fire Opal, which is easily my favorite shade in the palette. You can't even really appreciate how shifty of a shade that is. If you want to see more of the shifts in this shade, go check out my most special Pat McGrath shades video. I'll try to remember to leave it linked down below. This is Rose Gold 005. It's so sparkly. It doesn't have those shifts in it the same way, but the texture is just beyond. And then Astral Luna Gold is just an incredible shade as well. It has almost a purpley base with these bright yellow and almost orangey reflects. Absolutely perfection. The best special shade she's ever done are the ones in this palette. And that's saying a lot when I also have Divine Rose 2 with that crazy pink to green multi-chrome. These are her best ones, by far. If I was going to recommend you any Mothership palette, it would be this one. So it would devastate me to lose all my other Pat McGrath palettes because they are all special in their own right. But this is the undisputed champ for me. And finally, this was my biggest decision because this is Colourpop. I think I have like 30 Colourpop palettes. That might be an exaggeration, but I have at least 20. Easily at least 20. I have a huge number of Colourpop palettes. So I was like, oh, this is going to be a huge challenge. And it wasn't. Because I thought about it for like 2 minutes, and I was like, Maddie, you know which Colourpop palette you're going to reach for. If you're going to grab for a Colourpop palette, you know which one it's going to be. You know. And it makes me sad because it's not one of the collab palettes, so I would have to lose my Harry Potter palette and my Sailor Moon palette and my Baby Yoda palette, and that would make me really sad. So I will never get rid of those Colourpop palettes, but if I could only use one forever and ever, this is such a lame answer, but it's going coconuts. I know, isn't that lame? Like, of all of the color stories that Colourpop has ever come out with, you're keeping this? Yeah, I am. And I only have to swatch one shade to show you why. Cocoa Crush. I'm going to hit pan on this shade. It's inevitable that I'm going to hit pan on this shade, and I'm going to buy a new palette just to have this. Yeah. It's just the most perfect, like, rosy taupe, blinding metallic shade. I want to slather this all over my body. I'm obsessed. And I mean, really, yeah, that is the standout of the palette for me. But realistically, it's just, again, it's a workhorse palette. I can do a cool toned look with something like this. I can do a warm toned look with these. Keep it pretty straightforward neutral. If you go kind of down here, you got a deeper shimmer, a middle kind of true lid shade, and then this inner corner shade or a highlighty shade. It does everything I would need a neutral palette to do. In 9 shades, it looks pretty unassuming, but it does everything I'm looking for in a neutral palette. So if I could only have one of my Colourpop palettes, it would have to be this. Close runner-up, though, to the Kathleen Light So Jaded palette, because I feel like you can get so many looks from that. Neutral, colorful, sparkly, all matte, like you name it, you can get that from it. That's not available anymore, though, so I saved you from another top pick that is no longer available. You're welcome. So yeah, 100% going coconuts. As you can see, she is used, abused, battered, and I will continue to do so because it is some of Colourpop's best work. So that's it, you guys. If I can only keep one palette from all of the brands in my collection that I have at least a few palettes from anyway, those are the ones that I would pick. Do you agree with my picks? Do you disagree with my picks? Let me know in the comments down below if you feel the same way about any of these palettes, or if you have a different palette from one of these brands that you would keep instead. I would love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed this video or you got something out of it, please make sure to leave a like. It really helps out. And if you want to see more from me on this channel, I would really appreciate it if you would hit subscribe. It means the absolute most to me, and I appreciate each and every one of you. So until the next one, bye, you guys.